Parents said it's just a get together when I wasn't invited to my sister's engagement party, so I took off on a solo trip instead. Hours later, my whole family was calling crying. I'm Judith, and I need to get this off my chest because what happened last weekend has completely changed my relationship with my family forever. This is going to be long, but trust me, the ending is worth it. For context, I'm 28 years old, work as a marketing director for a tech startup in Seattle, and I've always been the black sheep of my family. My younger sister, Madison, 25, has been the golden child since birth. She's a nurse, engaged to her college sweetheart, Jake, and can apparently do no wrong in my parents' eyes. Meanwhile, I moved across the country for my career, chose not to have kids yet, and generally live life on my own terms. The favoritism has always been obvious, but I've learned to deal with it. What happened last weekend, though, crossed every line imaginable. It started on Thursday when my mom, Patricia, called me during my lunch break. She seemed nervous, which was unusual for her. Hey, sweetie, I just wanted to let you know that Madison and Jake are having a little get-together this Saturday. Nothing fancy, just a casual thing with close friends. I thought it was weird she was telling me about a random party I wasn't invited to, but I brushed it off. Okay, sounds fun for them. Right, exactly. It's really nothing special, just some people coming over for dinner and drinks. Very low-key. The conversation felt strange, but I didn't think much of it until Friday evening when my cousin Emma called me absolutely livid. Judith, please tell me you're kidding about not going to Madison's engagement party tomorrow. My blood turned to ice. What engagement party? The one your whole family has been planning for months. The one with a catered dinner, professional photographer, and custom decorations. The one where Jake's parents flew in from Denver and your extended family is driving hours to attend. I sat down heavily on my couch, processing this information. Emma, my mom specifically told me it was just a casual get-together with close friends. Judith, there are 60 people invited. I have the invitation right here. It says, join us for an elegant evening celebrating Madison and Jake's engagement. This is not casual. After Emma sent me photos of the elaborate invitation, complete with gold foil lettering and RSVP cards, I called my mom back. My hands were shaking as I dialed. Mom, I just found out about Madison's actual engagement party tomorrow. There was a long pause. Oh, honey, like I said, it's really just a small gathering. 60 people is not small. There's catering, decorations, and a photographer. Why wasn't I invited to my own sister's engagement party? Another pause. Well, Madison thought, we all thought it might be better if you weren't there. You know how you can be sometimes, how I can be. What does that mean? You know, Judith, you tend to make things about yourself, and with your lifestyle being so different from Madison's, we just thought it would be more comfortable for everyone if this was more of a traditional celebration. I was speechless. My own family had deliberately excluded me from one of the biggest events in my sister's life and then lied to my face about it. Mom, I'm her sister, her only sister. I know, sweetie, but Madison really wants this day to be perfect. She's worried that you might say something inappropriate or that people will ask about why you're still single or about your job keeping you so far away. She just wants to focus on celebrating with Jake's family and our close friends without any complications. The word complications hit me like a slap. That's what I was to them, a complication. I see. Well, I hope Madison has her perfect day. I hung up and immediately started crying. Not just from hurt, but from rage. After everything I'd done for this family, paying for Dad's medical bills when he had his heart attack, helping them with their mortgage when Dad lost his job, flying home for every holiday despite the expense, this is how they repaid me. But then something shifted. I wiped my tears and started planning. I had been saving for months for a vacation I kept putting off because of work. I had enough money for something spectacular, and suddenly I knew exactly what I was going to do. I called my best friend Rachel, who works for a luxury travel agency. Rachel, I need you to work a miracle. I want the most amazing solo trip you can book for this weekend starting tomorrow morning. Money is not an object. Judith, it's Friday night. Everything good will be booked. Please, Ra, I'm desperate. My family just showed me exactly what they think of me, and I need to do something incredible for myself. Rachel worked her magic. By midnight, she had booked me a weekend at the Four Seasons Resort in Maui, complete with first-class flights, a suite with an ocean view, a private beach cabana, spa treatments, and a sunset helicopter tour. The total cost was more than I usually spend in 3 months, but I didn't care. Saturday morning, while my family was setting up for Madison's small gathering, I was boarding a first-class flight to Hawaii. I decided to document everything on social media, but not in a vindictive way. I genuinely wanted to celebrate my own life and show myself that I deserve beautiful experiences, even if my family didn't think so. My first post was a photo of my first-class seat with a glass of champagne. Sometimes you have to celebrate yourself. Off on a spontaneous solo adventure to Maui. Here's to new beginnings and knowing your worth. Clinking glasses emoji. Airplane emoji. The responses started immediately. Friends were amazed and excited for me. Several coworkers commented about how jealous they were. My college roommate Jessica wrote, "This is why I love you, Judith. Living your best life." When I landed in Maui, I took a photo of the resort entrance with its stunning tropical landscaping. Paradise found. Sometimes the best company is your own. HMS. Solot travel and Maui life. Living my best life. The suite was incredible. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Pacific, a private balcony, marble bathroom with a soaking tub, and complimentary champagne and chocolate-covered strawberries. I took a photo of the view and posted it with the caption, "Room with a view, grateful for jobs that let you have adventures like this." Hasha. Blessed, hasha. Ocean view, hasha, self-care. But the real masterpiece was when I got to my private beach cabana. The resort had set up a beautiful spread with fresh fruit, gourmet sandwiches, and tropical drinks. I was wearing a new sundress I bought at the airport boutique. My hair was blowing in the ocean breeze, and the sunset behind me was absolutely magical. I asked another guest to take a photo of me, raising my glass to the camera with the ocean and sunset in the background. I looked genuinely happy, which I was, and absolutely radiant. Cheers to the most beautiful Saturday evening. Nothing like a sunset in paradise to remind you that life is gorgeous. Sometimes the best parties are the ones you throw for yourself. Posted it around 6:00 p.m. Hawaii time, which was 9:00 p.m. Pacific time back home, right when Madison's engagement party would be in full swing. My phone service was working perfectly thanks to my carrier's international plan, though I knew I'd probably face some hefty roaming charges for all the calls I expected to receive once people saw the post. Within minutes, my phone started buzzing with notifications. Friends and acquaintances were liking and commenting. My boss commented, "Judith, this looks incredible. You deserve this." My neighbor wrote, "Living vicariously through you right now." But then I started getting different kinds of notifications. The first was from my cousin Emma. "Wait, Judith, are you seriously in Hawaii right now? While Madison's party is happening." Then my Aunt Linda, "Judith, honey, are you okay? Your mother is asking about you." But the flood really started when people at Madison's party began seeing my posts. You see, what my family hadn't counted on was that many of the guests were also my social media friends. Jake's sister Amy, several of my high school friends, some family friends who had known me since childhood. They were all at the party and also seeing my posts in real time on their phones. I had a public Instagram account, and most of these people had been following my posts for years. I found out later what happened next from Emma, who texted me updates throughout the evening since she was one of the few people who knew the real story about my exclusion. Around 9:30 p.m., Jake's sister Amy was scrolling through Instagram when she saw my sunset photo. She showed it to a few people, and words started spreading through the party. "Wait, isn't that Judith Madison's sister? Is she in Hawaii right now?" People started pulling out their phones to look at my posts. The photos were stunning, and the captions were gracious, but clearly indicated this was a spontaneous solo trip. Jake's mom, Mrs. Thompson, apparently asked Madison directly, "Honey, where is your sister tonight? She's not here, but she's posting these beautiful photos from Hawaii." Madison, according to Emma, went completely white. She had other plans. But Mrs. Thompson pressed further. "Other plans? She flew to Hawaii today." That seems like quite a coincidence that she'd plan a luxury vacation on the same day as your engagement party. This is when things got messy. Jake's dad, Mr. Thompson, who had always been fond of me during family gatherings, spoke up. Patricia, I have to ask, was Judith not invited tonight? My mom, Patricia, apparently started stuttering. Well, it's complicated. She lives so far away and we kept it small. But Emma jumped in. Small? There are 60 people here. And Judith lives in Seattle, not Antarctica. She could have easily flown here if she'd been invited. Jake's parents exchanged looks. Mrs. Thompson said, I specifically asked about Judith when we were planning this because I wanted to meet her. You told me she couldn't make it because of work commitments. That's when everything unraveled. Madison broke down crying and admitted that they hadn't invited me because they were worried I would cause drama or make inappropriate comments about the relationship. Jake looked horrified. Madison, we didn't discuss not inviting your sister. I assumed she couldn't come because of distance or work. Jake's parents were visibly upset. Mrs. Thompson said, I cannot believe you would exclude your own daughter from her sister's engagement party and then lie about it. The party atmosphere completely shifted. People were uncomfortable, whispering among themselves, and several guests started making excuses to leave early. But it got worse. My dad's sister, Aunt Karen, had apparently been drinking and was not having any of my family's excuses. She stood up and said loudly enough for everyone to hear, This is absolutely disgraceful. Judith has done more for this family than anyone else. She paid for Robert's medical bills, helped with your mortgage, and flies here for every holiday despite living across the country. And this is how you repay her? By excluding her and lying about it. While she's off living her best life in Hawaii, you're here making excuses for treating your own daughter like garbage. Emma said the room went dead silent. Jake's parents decided to leave. Mrs. Thompson told Madison, We're disappointed in how this was handled. Well, talk more when emotions aren't so high. By 10 p.m., about half of the 60 guests had left early. Madison was crying in the bathroom. Jake was arguing with my parents in the kitchen, and the professional photographer was awkwardly packing up his equipment since the celebration had completely fallen apart. That's when the phone calls started. The first call came at 10:15 p.m. Hawaii time, 1:15 a.m., back home. It was my mom, and she was crying hysterically. Judith, honey, you need to come home right now. The party is ruined. Madison is devastated, and Jake's parents left. Everyone's asking about you and your Hawaii trip. Mom, I'm in Hawaii. I can't just come home. And why would I? I wasn't invited to begin with. Please, Judith. Madison needs her sister. She's upstairs crying and saying the whole engagement is ruined. The engagement is ruined because I'm not there. That doesn't make sense. Mom, people are saying terrible things about how we treated you. Jake's family is upset. Aunt Karen gave us a lecture in front of everyone. You have to fix this. I have to fix this. I have to fix the situation where you deliberately excluded me and lied about it. That's when I heard Madison grab the phone. Judith, you're being so selfish, she screamed through her tears. You knew this was my engagement party, and you deliberately planned this trip to ruin it. Madison, I didn't know it was your engagement party. Mom told me it was a casual get-together with friends. I only found out the truth yesterday from Emma. That's not true. You knew, and you did this to hurt me. Madison, I literally had no idea. Check the timestamps on my flight booking if you want. I booked this trip after I found out I wasn't invited to what I was told was a casual dinner party. Jake apparently took the phone then. Judith, I'm so sorry. I had no idea you weren't invited. I thought you couldn't come because of work or distance. If I had known, I would have insisted you be here. Jake, it's not your fault. You didn't know my family decided I was a complication to be managed, rather than a sister to be celebrated. The calls kept coming all night, and I was grateful for my international phone plan. Even though I knew this was going to cost me a fortune in roaming charges, my dad Robert called, crying and apologizing. Aunt Karen called to tell me she was proud of me and that my parents owed me a massive apology. Emma called with updates from the party aftermath, but the most interesting call came Sunday morning from Mrs. Thompson, Jake's mother. Judith, I got your number from Emma. I wanted to call and apologize for what happened last night, Mrs. Thompson, you don't need to apologize. You didn't do anything wrong. I feel terrible that we celebrated an engagement party while Jake's future sister-in-law was deliberately excluded. That's not how families should work. I appreciate that more than you know. I also wanted you to know that Jake and Madison are going to have some serious conversations about family dynamics before this wedding moves forward. Jake is reconsidering some things. That afternoon, I got a long text from Jake. Judith, I've been thinking all night about what happened. I'm horrified that my future in-laws excluded you and then lied about it. I'm even more concerned about Madison's reaction when she was caught. Instead of apologizing to you, she blamed you for ruining her day when you were the one who was wronged. I need to see some significant changes in how your family treats you before I'm comfortable moving forward with wedding planning. Madison and I are going to couples counseling, and I'm insisting that your whole family go to family therapy. What happened last night was not okay, and I won't be part of a family that treats people this way. I was stunned. Jake was actually standing up for me in a way my own family never had. Meanwhile, my social media was blowing up with support. People were commenting on my posts with messages like, "You look so happy," and "This is what self-care looks like." Several friends had figured out the timing and were subtly supportive, commenting things like, "Good for you for choosing yourself." The best part was that I genuinely was having an amazing time. The helicopter tour on Sunday was breathtaking. I saw whales from the air, flew over volcanic landscapes, and watched the sunset paint the ocean in incredible colors. I posted a photo from inside the helicopter with a caption, "Sometimes you have to rise above to see how beautiful life really is. Grateful for this perspective." Helicopter tour, now to Maui magic and a new perspective. Monday morning, as I was getting ready to head to the airport, I got a call from Madison. She wasn't crying this time, but her voice was small and defeated. "Judith, Jake says he's not sure about the wedding." "Madison, I'm sorry to hear that, but this isn't about me. This is about how our family treats people and how you reacted when you were caught excluding me. But you ruined my engagement party by going to Hawaii." "Madison, I went to Hawaii because I found out I was deliberately excluded from my own sister's engagement party and then lied to about it. I took a beautiful trip for myself instead of sitting at home feeling sorry for myself. That's not ruining your party. That's choosing my own happiness over your drama. But everyone was talking about you instead of celebrating me." Madison, do you hear yourself? Everyone was talking about the fact that you excluded your own sister from your engagement party. That's a choice you made, not something I did to you. There was a long pause. "Jake wants me to apologize to you. Do you want to apologize to me?" Another pause. "I don't think I did anything wrong by wanting my engagement party to be perfect. Then we have nothing more to discuss." I hung up and blocked her number. The flight home was bittersweet. I'd had the most incredible weekend of my life, but I was flying back to a family situation that was completely changed. When I got home, I had 17 missed calls from my parents and a dozen text messages begging me to fix things with Madison. But before I called my parents, I needed to process everything that had happened. I sat in my apartment Tuesday evening, looking through the photos from Hawaii, and started thinking about all the signs I had missed over the years. There was my college graduation, where my parents spent the entire ceremony talking about Madison's nursing program acceptance. During the family dinner afterward, every conversation somehow shifted back to Madison's achievements. When relatives asked about my marketing degree, my mom would quickly redirect with updates about Madison's clinical rotations. Then there was the time I got promoted to marketing director at 26, making me the youngest person in that role at my company. I called home excitedly to share the news. My dad Robert's response was, "That's nice, honey. Did we tell you Madison made Dean's List again?" Or, the Christmas when I flew home after working 18-hour days to afford the trip, bringing expensive gifts for everyone. Madison had forgotten to get me anything, so my mom quietly gave her one of the presents I brought for Mom to give to me instead. Madison felt so bad, Mom explained. We didn't want her to be embarrassed. The medical bill situation was especially telling now that I thought about it. When Dad had his heart attack 3 years ago, I immediately transferred $5,000 to help with the deductible and expenses. I didn't hesitate, didn't ask for repayment plans, just sent the money because family helps family, right? But 6 months later, when I was struggling with my own financial crisis after my car was totaled and insurance lowballed me, I asked if they could help with a temporary loan of $2,000. I would have paid it back with interest within 3 months. "Oh, honey, we're still recovering from Dad's medical expenses," Mom said. "Maybe you could ask your company for an advance." 2 weeks later, Emma mentioned that my parents had given Madison $3,000 to help furnish her new apartment with Jake. "They're so generous," Emma had said. Madison was stressed about moving in together and having nice furniture for Jake's parents to see. I had taken out a credit card cash advance to fix my transportation situation, while my parents furnished Madison's love nest. The mortgage situation was even worse in hindsight. 2 years ago, Dad lost his job in a company layoff. They were 3 months behind on mortgage payments and facing foreclosure proceedings. I emptied my entire emergency fund, $12,000, to catch them up and give them breathing room. "Judith, you saved our home," Dad had said with tears in his eyes. "We'll pay you back as soon as I find work." Robert did find work, a good job making even more than his previous position. But instead of paying me back, they used their renewed financial stability to throw Madison an elaborate graduation party when she finished nursing school. The party cost at least $8,000. I knew because Emma helped with planning and mentioned the catering budget alone was $4,000. When I gently asked about repayment after seeing the party expenses, Mom got defensive. "Judith, we're still getting back on our feet." And Madison's graduation was a once-in-a-lifetime event. Surely you understand that. Madison's graduation was once in a lifetime, but my financial sacrifice to save their home was just expected family duty. Apparently, the pattern was everywhere once I started looking. Every holiday I flew home, spending money on flights I could barely afford as a young professional, building my career. Madison drove 2 hours from her apartment, spending maybe $40 in gas. But somehow I was the one who never made time for family because I lived further away. When Madison was stressed about her nursing boards, I spent weeks on the phone with her every night, helping her study and providing emotional support. When I was dealing with a nightmare situation with a previous boss who was sexually harassing me, I called home for support and was told, "Well, maybe you should consider whether moving so far from family was worth it if your job situation is so difficult." They didn't offer to help me find a lawyer, didn't express outrage on my behalf, didn't even ask follow-up questions about what was happening. Instead, they used my crisis as evidence that my life choices were wrong. But when Madison had conflict with a difficult patient's family at the hospital, the entire family rallied around her. Robert researched her rights as a healthcare worker. Mom called the hospital administration to complain, and they spent family dinner discussing strategies for dealing with workplace challenges. Same type of problem. Completely different levels of support. Even my career success was somehow problematic. When I was featured in a local business magazine for my innovative marketing campaign that increased our company's client base by 40%, I excitedly sent the article to my family. Madison's response was, "Must be nice to have a job where you get attention for your work. As a nurse, I save lives every day, and nobody writes articles about me." My parents' response was to share Madison's comment and add, "Madison has such a humble heart. She serves others without needing recognition." My professional achievement became evidence of my vanity compared to Madison's noble selflessness. The dating situation was another area where the double standards were glaring. I had been single for a year after ending things with my ex-boyfriend David, who wanted me to move back to our hometown and give up my career to start a real life together. I chose my career and my independence. My family's reaction was constant pressure about my biological clock, suggestions that maybe I was too picky, and gentle hints that successful women sometimes have to compromise to find love. Meanwhile, Madison dated Jake for 6 months before they moved in together, got engaged 8 months after that, and was celebrated for knowing what she wanted and not wasting time when you find the right person. Same life choices framed completely differently, based on which daughter was making them. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that this engagement party exclusion wasn't an anomaly. It was a culmination of years of being treated as a supporting character in my own family story. I was the daughter who could be counted on to provide financial support, emotional labor, and crisis management, but who couldn't be trusted to behave appropriately at important celebrations. I was reliable enough to save their house, but too embarrassing to include in family milestones. That realization was actually liberating. I had been trying so hard to earn their approval and equal treatment, but the game was rigged from the start. Madison would always be the beloved daughter who could do no wrong, and I would always be the problematic one whose contributions were expected, but whose presence was conditional. Wednesday evening, Emma called with more details about the aftermath of the party. Judith, you should know that people are still talking about what happened. Not in a gossipy way, but people are genuinely concerned about how you were treated. What do you mean? Well, Jake's Aunt Jennifer pulled me aside at the grocery store yesterday. She said she's been thinking about the party all week and feeling sick about it. She kept saying, that poor girl was in Hawaii posting these beautiful, happy photos while her family was celebrating without her. How could they exclude their own daughter? Emma continued, and Mrs. Rodriguez from church approached your mom after service Sunday. She said she saw your Hawaii posts and wanted to know why you weren't at Madison's party. When your mom gave some vague excuse about distance and timing, Mrs. Rodriguez said, Patricia, that girl flew to Hawaii on the same day as the party. She clearly could have flown here if she'd been invited. How did Mom respond to that? According to Aunt Karen, who was standing nearby, your mom just changed the subject and walked away. But Mrs. Rodriguez told several other people, and now there's this undercurrent of people questioning how your parents handled the whole thing. This was interesting. The social consequences were extending beyond just Jake's family being upset. The broader community was starting to see the situation for what it was. There's more. Emma said Jake's cousin Mike, who's getting married next spring, specifically asked his fiancée to make sure you get an invitation to their wedding. He said, after seeing how Jake's future sister-in-law was excluded from the engagement party, I want to make sure we don't accidentally overlook anyone important. That's really thoughtful of them, Judith. People are seeing this as a cautionary tale, like everyone's examining their own guest list now, to make sure they're not excluding people who should be included. Your situation is making people think about how they treat family members. The ripple effects were bigger than I had imagined. My family's dysfunction was becoming a community conversation about how families should treat each other. Thursday brought another revelation when my college friend Jessica called. We had been dorm mates freshman year and stayed in touch through social media, but we hadn't talked in months. Judith, I hope this isn't overstepping, but I saw your Hawaii posts over the weekend, and I've been thinking about them ever since. Oh, thanks. It was an incredible trip. The thing is, I remember how you used to talk about your family dynamics in college. You were always so stressed about not being good enough for them, always trying to prove yourself worthy of their love and approval. I had forgotten how much I used to confide in Jessica during late-night conversations in our dorm room. Looking at your Hawaii photos, though, you looked genuinely happy, in a way I hadn't seen in your posts for years. And then I figured out the timing with your sister's engagement party, and it all clicked into place. What clicked? Judith, you literally chose yourself over their dysfunction. You could have spent that weekend being miserable about being excluded, but instead you gave yourself the most beautiful celebration. You looked radiant in those photos because you were finally putting your own happiness first. Jessica's perspective was enlightening. She was right that I had looked different in those photos, not just because of a beautiful setting, but because I was genuinely celebrating myself instead of trying to earn someone else's approval. I've been thinking about this a lot, Jessica continued, because I've been in a similar dynamic with my own family. Not as extreme, but that same feeling of constantly trying to prove you deserve their love. Seeing you choose yourself so beautifully made me realize I need to make some changes too. Really? I've been dating this guy my parents disapprove of because he's not in a traditional career path. He's an artist. I've been hiding the relationship and feeling ashamed instead of just living my life. Your Hawaii weekend made me realize that I can't keep shrinking myself to fit their expectations. That's amazing, Jess. I'm telling my parents about Marcus this weekend, and if they can't be happy for me, that's their choice. But I'm not hiding my happiness anymore just to make them comfortable. It was incredible to hear that my decision to choose myself had inspired someone else to do the same. Maybe there was something bigger happening here than just my personal family drama. Friday evening, I got an unexpected text from Jake. Judith, would you be willing to talk? I know this is a weird situation, but I'd really value your perspective on some things. I called him back, curious about what he wanted to discuss. Jake, how are you holding up with everything? Honestly, not great. I've been doing a lot of thinking this week about family dynamics and how people treat each other, and I keep coming back to what happened at the engagement party. I'm sorry this has been so stressful for you. Judith, can I ask you something directly? Has your family always treated you this way? I paused, considering how honest to be. What do you mean exactly? I mean, have you always been the one who gives more than you receive? The one who's expected to accommodate everyone else, but isn't accommodated in return? Why do you ask? Because I've been thinking about all my interactions with your family over the past 2 years, and I'm seeing patterns I didn't notice before. Jake went on to describe observations that were painfully accurate. He had noticed that I was the one who always traveled for family events while Madison was accommodated. He had seen that conversations about my achievements were quickly redirected to Madison's. He had observed that I was consulted for advice and financial help, but wasn't included in celebrations and milestones. The engagement party wasn't an isolated incident, was it? He asked. No, Jake. It was just the most obvious example of a long-standing pattern. I need to ask you something else, and please be honest. Do you think Madison is aware of how unequally you're treated? This was a question I had been avoiding asking myself. I think Madison benefits from the inequality, and she's chosen not to examine it too closely. Whether that's conscious awareness or willful blindness, I'm not sure it matters. That's what I was afraid of, Jake said quietly. Jake, can I ask why you're asking me these questions? Because I'm trying to figure out if I'm about to marry someone who participates in treating her own sister badly, or if she's just been unconsciously following her parents' lead. And I'm realizing it might be the former. What makes you say that? Her reaction when she got caught excluding you. Instead of being horrified and apologetic, she was angry at you for ruining her party by living your life. That wasn't the response of someone who made an innocent mistake. That was the response of someone who thought she had the right to exclude you and was angry about facing consequences. Jake was seeing the situation more clearly than I had expected. And the more I think about it, he continued, the more I realize she's never once mentioned feeling bad about how your family treats you. She's never advocated for you or questioned whether things are fair. She just accepts the benefits of being the favorite and doesn't think about the cost to you. Jake, I don't want to be the reason your relationship ends. Judith, you're not the reason. Her character is the reason. The engagement party just made it impossible to ignore. After we hung up, I realized that Jake's questions had helped me clarify something important. This wasn't just about my parents' favoritism anymore. Madison was an adult who had chosen to participate in excluding me and had shown no remorse when caught. That said something significant about who she was as a person. Saturday morning, I woke up feeling clearer about everything than I had in years. I made myself a nice breakfast, sat on my balcony with my coffee, and started planning that call to my parents. I called my parents and told them we needed to have a serious conversation. Judith, Robert, I need you to understand something. What happened this weekend wasn't about a party. It was about you deciding that I'm an embarrassment to this family and then lying to my face about it. Judith, that's not true, Robert said. Robert, you excluded me from one of the most important events in Madison's life because you thought I would cause drama. Then, when I found out and chose to do something beautiful for myself instead of wallowing, you called me selfish for not fixing the situation you created. We just wanted Madison's day to be perfect, my mom said, and you decided that meant I couldn't be there. Do you understand how that feels to know that your own family thinks your presence would ruin an important celebration? Silence. And instead of apologizing when you were caught, you tried to make me responsible for fixing it. You wanted me to fly home from Hawaii to make Madison feel better about excluding me. More silence. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. I'm done being treated like a second-class member of this family. I'm done being expected to contribute financially and emotionally while being excluded from important events. I'm done being called selfish when I prioritize my own well-being over your drama. Judith, what are you saying? My mom asked. I'm saying that until you can acknowledge what you did wrong and make genuine changes. I'm not participating in family events. I won't be coming home for holidays. I won't be contributing to family expenses, and I won't be available for crisis management. You can't be serious, Robert said. I'm completely serious. I spent this weekend in paradise, being celebrated by strangers at a resort while my own family was excluding me from a party. That told me everything I need to know about my priorities. The aftermath has been interesting. Jake postponed the wedding indefinitely. He told Emma that he can't marry into a family that treats people the way mine treated me, and he's not convinced Madison understands why what she did was wrong. Some extended family members have reached out to tell me they're proud of how I handled the situation. Others have tried to pressure me to be the bigger person and reconcile with Madison. My parents have been alternating between apologizing and trying to guilt me into coming home. Madison has been posting sad quotes on social media about family betrayal and people who abandon you when you need them most. But here's the thing, I've never felt better about myself. That weekend in Hawaii wasn't just a vacation. It was a declaration that I value myself enough to choose my own happiness over other people's dysfunction. I spent years trying to earn love from people who had already decided I wasn't worth celebrating. Now I'm planning more solo adventures. I'm setting boundaries with my family that I should have set years ago. I'm focusing on the relationships in my life with people who actually want me around. My boss promoted me last week, partially based on the confidence and self-advocacy skills I've been displaying lately. My friends keep telling me I seem different, happier, and more self-assured. 3 months later, Jake and Madison broke up. Jake told Emma that the engagement party situation opened his eyes to a lot of dynamics he hadn't noticed before, and Madison's inability to take responsibility for her actions was a deal breaker for him. Madison blamed me for the breakup, of course. But Emma told me that Jake said his decision had nothing to do with me and everything to do with Madison's character and our family's dysfunction. My parents have been begging me to come home and help Madison through the breakup. They say she needs her sister. I told them Madison made it clear that she only needs her sister when it's convenient for her. When she actually wanted to celebrate something important, she decided I was too much of a complication to include. I'm planning another solo trip next month, this time to Italy. I'm going to eat incredible food, tour ancient ruins, and celebrate the fact that I finally learned to love myself enough to walk away from people who don't value me. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting back at people who hurt you. Sometimes it's living such a beautiful life without them that they can see exactly what they lost when they decided you weren't worth keeping around. My Hawaii photos still get comments from friends saying how happy and radiant I look because I was happy. For the first time in years, I was choosing myself over my family's drama, and it felt incredible. That weekend taught me that I don't need my family's approval to celebrate my life. I can throw my own party, book my own adventures, and create my own happiness. And honestly, the view from Hawaii was much more beautiful than whatever drama was happening at Madison's engagement party. Anyway, update. 6 months later, I'm engaged to an amazing man I met through work who thinks my independence and self-respect are attractive rather than problematic. We're planning a small destination wedding in Tuscany, and yes, my family is invited, but only if they can genuinely celebrate our happiness without making it about their drama. The irony isn't lost on me that while Madison's engagement imploded because she couldn't treat her own sister with basic respect, I found love with someone who values exactly the qualities my family considered complications. Sometimes the best thing that can happen to you is being excluded from the wrong party because it frees you up to find the right celebration.